Hey guys, welcome to my September plan with me. I cannot believe it's already fall. So this month's plan with me was inspired by this show that I saw on Netflix. It's called Street Food USA, but they also have one for Asia and one for South America, both of which, well, all three are super good, but I recently just saw the USA one, and I really love this series in the sense that it doesn't just appreciate different countries' foods, but I really like that they focus more so on the chefs themselves and kind of tell their stories. And America is just like a huge melting pot, so I really enjoyed hearing coming from like a first gen American minority, their experience in America, and kind of just the trials and tribulations that they had to go through in order to get their shop up and running. So the show actually has these really pretty illustrations that happen before each chef's story is shown. So I really like the way that they looked, and they're just super easy lines, but they're really colorful. And so I decided to take screenshots or take pictures of those illustrations and kind of just recreate them in my bullet journal. So the illustration that I am drawing for my cover page was my favorite, or one of my favorite episodes, and this was about this chef in Portland, and her family is from Vietnam, and I just really liked in her episode how she talked about when she went to school, her mom would always pack her a Vietnamese style lunch, and how the kids in her class just kind of bullied her because it didn't smell or look like normal American food, quotes normal, right? And so, yeah, she would throw her lunch in the garbage and go hungry so that she wouldn't get bullied. And being a minority myself in America, I kind of just really related to that. I never really got bullied for like my food, but I definitely had kids when I was in elementary school kind of like question like what my food was because it didn't look normal, like normal American food. So for this month, I am primarily using acrylograph paint pens by Archer and Olive, but you could go ahead and use Posca pens or even markers. I just kind of wanted a more opaque look, so I went for the paint pens, but honestly, a marker would also do, or a colored pencil, whatever you have that's colorful and can draw pretty thin lines would work pretty well. So yeah, and then I also used my Tombow Fudenosuke brush pen. You can use whatever brush pen you have to letter this quote, and I really love this quote because it kind of sums up the experience for a lot of minorities in America, and kind of just goes along with the theme that I picked for this month, and it's also one of my most favorite quotes. So as I mentioned, each episode I'm kind of basically recreating the illustrations into my bullet journal. And so this episode was about a chef from Hawaii, and his street food cart was like a food truck, and then that's where like the palm trees come from because Hawaii's all tropical. And then for the calendar itself, I kind of wanted an open layout, and for the theme itself, it was pretty minimal in the sense that there's nothing fancy going on, just a bunch of like lines. The lines did take a while to draw, but it wasn't super difficult. I'm hoping most of you are able to kind of recreate this. So as I mentioned, I am using the Archer and Olive acrylograph pens. I can't really say what the names of the pens are. This is like one thing that I find really annoying about the acrylograph pens, is that they come in sets, but none of the colors are labeled. So if you don't keep the original box, you don't know which set that color pen was from. So it makes it really difficult for when you want to just repurchase a single pen. I really hope they end up naming all of these. But yeah, I also did want to ask if any of you guys use Posca paint pens and you have Archer and Olive acrylograph pens, which one do you prefer? Even though I love the color selection for acrylograph pens, I found that they did tend to get pretty clogged up in the pen nib, and it's kind of annoying because when I'm just ready to just start bullet journaling and coloring in my spreads, I find a nib is clogged and I have to basically put that in some water and soak that overnight, and then I get another nib. So it's kind of like a little bit annoying, but I just wonder if the Posca paint pens have the same situation, because it's basically the same idea. It's a acrylic paint pen. So if any of you guys know the answer to that, please comment down below. So I'm taking the same brush pen from Tombow and writing in the name of the month. And then I'm also gonna go ahead and use a Tombow monoliner. I believe this is in the width 05, but any fine line pen will do, like a Pigma Micron, or you can even use just like a gel pen. As I believe I'd mentioned in some of my other videos, I don't really find mood trackers or habit trackers really useful for me. I do find habit trackers a little bit more useful, but I just do not like the process of making them. I actually hate it. Writing all those calendars, I just can't do it. So I just don't even put those in my bullet journal. I just go on straight to weeklies, and it's worked for me. You guys don't really need to do that. I know a lot of YouTubers do that, but if you find something isn't working for you, you don't need to include it in your bullet journal, and that's the beauty of bullet journaling. So for my first weekly, this was about an episode of a chef that lived in New Orleans, and this was kind of the architecture that was shown on that specific episode's graphic. They also had these really pretty trees, which I am using for my last weekly, and stay tuned because I did actually film the rest of my September weeklies, and that will be coming up in another video. So to draw out the boxes for the days of the week, I'm using the same Tombow monoliner. I also ended up using one of the paint pens, the orange one, and just putting in little circles in the corners just to add some detail. So my camera did stop recording when I was doing the notes box, but basically I just put in a little calendar, and then I always like to take a mild liner and highlight every other row. I just think it gives it some visual interest. But yeah, that is my September plan with me, and stay tuned for my weeklies.